So, what exactly is a snap package and why is this subject so controversial? Hello again, everyone, and welcome back to Learn Linux TV. In today's episode of the Linux Crash Course series, I'm going to go over snap packages. Aren't you excited? Okay, calm down, it's fine. It's not going to be that bad, I promise. We're going to stick to the details in today's video, and sure, I'm going to have a little bit of fun with the topic, but the more important focus here is to help you understand what the heck people are talking about when they mention snap packages. What are they, and why should you even care about them? A quick summary of what snap packages are before we go into more detail is that they're a universal package format. Now, if you're not familiar with that concept, universal packages are Linux packages that contain everything an application needs to run all in one package, basically making it a self-contained application and also portable. Applications that are packaged this way exist outside of your distribution's package manager and are managed with separate tools. So now that we understand what a universal package is, at least in summary, and we also know that snap packages are a form of universal package, what exactly is a snap package? Well, I did give you a quick summary of universal packages, so I may as well give you a quick summary of snap packages as well before we get started. However, I decided to have ChatGPT explain it for me because I think it's going to do a much better job. And here's what ChatGPT had to say. Imagine snap packages as those elusive creatures in the Ubuntu ecosystem that are loved by some and loathed by others. They're like the Kardashians of software packaging, constantly stirring up drama and dividing the Ubuntu community. Now, as amusing as that happens to be, we're going to stick to the details in this video, even if I am going to have a little bit of fun with this topic every now and then. Basically, snap packages are a form of universal package. They provide you with an application all in one bundle. You install that one package and you have the application. Just like with other forms of universal packages, these exist outside of your distribution's package manager and you manage them separately. And in today's video, you're going to get a full look at the technology. Now, before we get into that though, I need to take a moment to mention the sponsor for today's video, Akamai Connected Cloud. If you're looking for a cloud provider that's affordable, flexible, and reliable, then look no further than Akamai Connected Cloud. With Akamai's cloud platform, you can spin up Linux servers quickly, and the platform contains all the features you'll need to deploy full-featured solutions. And using the marketplace, you could easily deploy applications such as Nextcloud, Rocket Chat, Mastodon, WordPress, Pi-hole, Plex, Jenkins, and many more. In fact, there's over 100 applications available in the marketplace. If you want to set up a custom Linux instance, you could do that too. All the popular Linux distributions are available on the platform, including, but not limited to, Debian, CentOS, Fedora, Ubuntu, and many others. In fact, even Arch Linux is available. So check out Akamai Connected Cloud with the URL that you see on the screen right now, which will do two things. First, it'll help support this channel, which I'll really appreciate, and it'll also get you $100 in starter credit to check out the platform. And thank you yet again to Akamai for sponsoring today's video. I really appreciate it. With all of that out of the way, let's dive into the topic of snap packages. Okay, so to start off, what I'm going to do is elaborate a bit more on the universal package format, so that way we can understand what the goal is that this technology is trying to solve in the first place. Universal packages aim to ease some of the burdens that developers and users face while developing or using applications on Linux. One of the biggest challenges for users in particular, especially the non-technical ones, is the sad but true reality that many popular applications just aren't ported officially to Linux. Sure, the situation is much better now, but it's not completely resolved either. Developers, on the other hand, might decide not to port an application to Linux due to the complexity of the platform. Think of it this way. Are you using Debian, Ubuntu, OpenSUSE, Mint, Arch, Red Hat, Fedora, MX Linux, Gentoo, or something even more exotic? I'm sure whatever your distribution of choice happens to be, you've made a great choice and it probably works very well for you. But developers have no idea what you're running, and the average Windows app developer has no idea what any of that means. In fact, when a developer looks into porting something to Linux, they probably give up the minute you start to even mention the fact that multiple distributions exist. The solution? The universal package format. Universal packages, in theory and/or in a perfect world, depending on how you look at things, aim to be a type of application package that's not unlike deb, RPM, or so on, but it's a package format that multiple distributions can all support. With the universal package, it contains all of the dependencies that the application needs in that one package, rather than requiring dependency resolution. Also, universal apps are largely assumed to be containers, which is a myth I want to bust right now. Don't get me wrong, apps released in such a format can very well be containers in every sense of the word, but that doesn't mean they all are. Since universal apps are separate from and sometimes even excluded from the host operating system, many people assume that universal apps are built in a way where they're completely siloed from the operating system in a way that increases security. That is often the case, but not always. Therefore, universal apps will either give you a huge security benefit or sometimes no security benefit at all. Now here's the thing. The universal package format is a real thing. It's not a theory. It exists today and it's something you can use right now. So what's the world like now that we have universal packages? Are we in a state of Linux packaging zen? Well, no. What we have are three competing technologies that are competing for the top spot, while Ubuntu is very, 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 very eager to see their solutions succeed. You really can't make this stuff up. Anyway, now that we've defined fully what a universal package format happens to be, what's a snap package? Well, let's dive in specifically to that, and I'll explain it. Well, here we go. The snap package format is an effort led by Canonical, the corporate overlords of Ubuntu, a distribution that you may have heard of, and the goals for the snap technology are the same as the universal package format itself. Developers have one thing that they can develop toward to simplify application development, and users will benefit as well by having access to more applications, or at least in theory. Now, if you're an Ubuntu user, then you have access to the snap package format right now. The technology is built right into the distro. Even the server version of Ubuntu has support for snap packages. However, some cloud providers may remove the snap format by default from their Ubuntu images for one reason or another, but the basic idea is that if you have Ubuntu installed, then you could benefit from snaps right now. But it's not just Ubuntu. Many other distributions support snap packages as well. Even though this technology started with Ubuntu, it's not exclusive to it. One thing to keep in mind, though, is that at this time, Ubuntu and distributions based on it are the only ones that have support for snaps built in. For all other distributions, you have to install that capability yourself. In Ubuntu, snap packages are fairly transparent. If you install an app through the Ubuntu software store, you'll install whatever the default format is for that application. Unless an average user is paying very special attention, they won't even know that another package format exists on their system at all. It's the more seasoned Linux users among us that notice the finer points of Linux packaging and have developed opinions about it. More on that later. When it comes to what's required for enabling support for this amazing and well-loved package format is simply the presence of snapd. Snapd is a daemon or service, depending what you want to call it, that you can install on your current distro that will enable support for this package format. There's actually a website you could visit that'll show you how to set this up, and it's not hard to do at all. In fact, you can have it done in a snap. Okay, just let me have this one guilty pleasure. At this point, I talked about what snap packages are and what the goal is that this technology attempts to solve. I also mentioned some of the command syntax already, but let's work through some hands-on examples. That way we can make sure that we fully understand it. The first thing that you'll do in order to get started with snap packages is to ensure that snapd is installed. If your distribution is Ubuntu, then you'll probably have this installed already. But there are exceptions, something that I'll talk more about shortly. If your distribution of choice is not Ubuntu, then an easy way to know how to get started is to visit the web page that you see on the screen right now. This is a documentation page that features instructions for setting up the snap package format on over 20 distributions. The first section shows which distributions have snap installed already, or which ones have it pre-installed. But this section right here is for distributions that, well, for whatever reason, don't have snapd installed by default. If your distribution of choice is any of these, then all you have to do is click on it and you'll get instructions for how to set it up on that distribution. For example, for Fedora, if we click on that, we now know that to install it, we can run sudo dnf install snapd. So now we know how to do this on Fedora, But I'll leave it up to you to click on whichever of these is your distro of choice if your distro of choice happens to not be Ubuntu. In order to work with snap packages, we will need access to the snap command. That's the command that we'll use to manage snap packages. But first, we have to make sure that we have it installed. And to find that out, we can run Command-V and then snap to find out if that command is available to us. In my case, it is. I received output here, as you can see. Now, if you didn't receive output from this command, then that means the snap command is not available. If you are running Ubuntu and the snap command is not available, then that means whoever provided your image of Ubuntu decided to omit snap support from that image. If that's the case, it's pretty easy to rectify though. We can run sudo apt update, and we'll just chain that into sudo apt install and then snapd, just like that. Now, I'm not going to run that obviously because I already have this set up, but if you are running Ubuntu and for whatever reason you don't have this command available, then the command that you see right here is the command you could use to solve that problem. Now, the first hands-on example when it comes to the snap command that I'm going to give you is snap find. We could run this right here to find out which snap packages are available to us. Now, I will need to make my font size a little bit smaller here because once I run this command, it's going to show a lot of text that's going to wrap all over the place. And that should do it. So I'll run snap find. And as you can see, we have a list of available snap packages here. Now, one thing to note though is that these are not the only snap packages that we have available. The list that we have right here is a curated list of what they call interesting snaps, but there's going to be a lot more available than just these. If we happen to know what we're looking for, one thing we can do is include a keyword with a snap find command. And as a random example, what I'll do is type snap find and then a package named NeoVim. NeoVim is a forked version of Vim, in case you were curious. It's something that I went over before in a previous video. I'll leave a card for that video right about here. But essentially, it's a forked version of Vim, and it's just something that I decided to choose as a random example. But the takeaway here is that I did include a keyword. I'm looking for NeoVim. I'm wondering if NeoVim is available as a snap package. Let's find out. Well, it seems like it is. We have a few things listed here in terms of results. So why is it that we have so many results when I looked for one package? Well, the reason for this is because when you search for something, it's going to search for whatever you've typed in the name as well as the summary. But even though we have several results here, it should be pretty easy to narrow down which one it is that we should install. For example, we have Joplin here, and Joplin is not NeoVim. That's a completely separate application. Now we do have NVim and NVim GTK, but look at the publisher column next to NVim. The publisher for that snap package is NeoVim Snap, and that's the actual publisher for NeoVim itself. So what we can glean from this is that package is coming directly from the publisher of that piece of software. And you know what? It can't get any more official than that. Also note the word classic is listed here. This is a word with snap packages that you'll see commonly. What does that mean though? Well, a snap package in the classic mode means that the snap package has access to files outside of the user's home directory. And that makes sense for something like NeoVim. You might need to edit a system config file, but if you don't run this under classic mode, then you won't be able to edit any file outside of your home directory. So if you're curious why some snap packages that you may have seen in how-tos and things like that are being installed via the classic mode, well, now you know why. Now, if you don't need access to files outside of your home directory, then it's better to not include classic unless it's required, but you'll see that in action shortly. Anyway, we now know that the name of the NeoVim package in the snap format is NVim. Sorry to interrupt myself, but I just wanted to let you know that I really enjoy making this content for you guys. I have a ton of fun. If you enjoy the content that I produce, then please consider supporting Learn Linux TV. The thing is, producing content like this isn't cheap. So by giving back to the channel, you can help me make even more content for you guys. And to find out more about how you can support Learn Linux TV, what you could do is go to support.learnlinux.tv, and there you'll find some of the ways that you can help support the channel. Anyway, let's get back to the video. Now let's find some additional information about NVim, and what we can do is type snap info and then the name of the snap package. And as you can see here, we get quite a bit more information about this package. So if you have any sort of trouble trying to figure out which one you should install, you could definitely check out the info page for the package to find out if it's what you want. Now before we install the NeoVim package, let's install the apt version of NeoVim so that way we can get a better understanding of how they differ. So what I'll do is type sudo apt install. And when it comes to the default repository version of NeoVim, that package name is simply NeoVim. So the way that we're going to install NeoVim right now is the standard method that we've been using for quite some time. We'll install the snap version shortly, but anyway, I'll press enter. And let's install it. And if I type which and then nvim, that's the binary name for NeoVim itself, we can see that we do have it installed. And if I check the version of NeoVim, check this out. We have version 0.6.1. Now keep in mind, the version that I just installed is the standard apt version, the Debian package version, if you will. So nothing that I've done right now is all that out of the ordinary, but we did see a different version number when it comes to the snap version of NeoVim. Let's check that out one more time. And well, we have version 0.9.1. And this is often one of the benefits of snap packages. You can have a newer version of something than what would be normally available in the distribution's default repositories. So for example, let's say you wanted to take advantage of a feature that was introduced in a newer version of NeoVim. If you only use the apt format, then, well, it's not going to be as easy to get your hands on that unless you maybe compile it from source or something like that. But with snap packages, we have an easy way of getting a newer version on our system. So let's go ahead and install a snap package, and what we'll do is install NeoVim since that's what we've been looking at anyway. Now we will need to use sudo to manage snap packages on our system, and that's not unlike any other package format we might be using. Anytime we want to make changes to the system, we need sudo. Next we'll type snap install. And then I'll add the -- classic option, like I mentioned earlier, that gives us the capability of editing files or accessing files with this snap that exist outside of our home directory. The package name is nvim, so that's what we'll install. And one last thing I want to mention about the -- classic option is to not include it habitually. Only include it when you need it. And that'll help contain the security scope when it comes to your system. Anyway, I'll press enter. And now it's installed. Now that we have NeoVim installed, technically twice, we have the apt package installed, and we also have the snap package installed. So which one is going to be used if we type nvim? Let's find out. Now right here we have nvim 0.6.1. And if you recall, that's the version number of the apt package. So when I typed nvim on the command line, it used the apt version by default. That's interesting. Well, let's do :Q to quit out of here. And we could type which and then nvim. And of course, we can see user bin nvim. So far, everything looks exactly the same as any other package. But we do have the apt package installed as well, and it is defaulting to that. But how do we run the snap version when it comes to this package? If the snap version is all you have installed, then that's what it would have ran for you. But if you have two different versions, an apt version and a snap version installed, in that case, you will need to tell it which one you want when you go to run it. So what we could do is run /snap/bin and then the name of the package that we've installed via snap. Again, if you only have the snap version installed, you really don't have to do this. You only have one installed anyway. But in a situation where you have more than one version installed, this is how you can differentiate that. You just call the actual path to the binary, whichever one you want, and that's the one that you'll get. So in this case, if I run snap bin nvim, you can see that I'm using nvim version 0.9.1. So now I'm using the snap version, which, as you can see, is a newer version than the one that comes with Ubuntu normally. For the next example, what I'm going to show you is how to update the snap packages that you have installed. One thing to note though is that Snap packages are updated automatically, so you don't really have to do this. But if there's a new version and you don't really want to wait for the system to decide it's time to go ahead and update it for you, then you can call a refresh command to make that happen a lot sooner. Actually, you can make that happen right now. So what we'll do is run sudo snap refresh. And what that's going to do is update every Snap package that we have on the system. Although in my case, I only have the one and I just installed it, so it's going to be extremely unlikely that there's going to be a new version already, but let's run it anyway. And no surprise here, it tells us all snaps are up to date. But you might be curious when it comes to when your system is going to be installing updates for all of your Snap packages. Exactly when does that occur? In order to find that out, you can run snap refresh. Then you give it the option --time. And we can see some interesting information here, can't we? We have a timer, which is the second line right here, and that actually tells us when it plans on doing this. And it's written a little strange here, but essentially what it's showing is that it's going to update your packages 4 times within 24 hours. The last time it did this was not applicable because I just installed the first Snap package today, so it's never had a chance to update before now. You could also see a hold time, and that's going to tell me exactly when it plans on doing this next. Package updates are on hold until today at 1847 UTC. So if you're curious the exact time it plans on updating your Snap packages next, well, now you know. Now, what if you don't want that particular package, the one that we've installed, or any other Snap package for that matter, to be updated just whenever Snap decides to do it? What if you want to put a hold on it or even disable updates for a package? Obviously, you should never disable updates, but you never know. You might have a use case for this. Maybe there's going to be a package version of something that, I don't know, gets broken and you have to put a hold on it until the developer fixes it. I haven't actually seen this problem yet when it comes to Snap, but you never know. Anyway, what I'll do is show you how to add a hold on something, which is going to give you some customization as far as how that's handled. So I'll add the --hold option. I'm going to set that to 48 hours. And the package that I want to place that hold on is going to be the nvim package. So what this means is that even if the developer was to release a new version of nvim within the next 48 hours, my system will not even attempt to install that update until after this hold is released. You can set this to weeks, months, or whatever you want. I used 48 hours as an example. But if you didn't already know you could add a hold on a package, well, now you know. Another thing you can do is set the hold time to forever. In my opinion, this is a terrible idea, like I mentioned earlier, but again, you never know. You might have a use case for this. So I'll press enter. And as you can see, refreshes of nvim are being held indefinitely. And if we want to go ahead and disable that, one easy way we could do that is just set it to 1 hour or something like that. So we have full control over when refreshes happen when it comes to our packages, as you can see right here. Now, the final example that I'll give you is how to determine when your packages are going to be updated. I showed you how to find out when your system plans on updating packages, but what if you wanted to set a time window of your own? Well, here's what we could do. We could run sudo and then snap. We'll use set and then system. We'll set the refresh timer to our desired time window. So in my case, I will allow updates to Snap packages when I expect to be sleeping or, during a time where the server is least likely to be used. So what I'll do is set the refresh timer to happen between midnight and 5 a.m. And if we check the refresh time again, we can see that the timer is going to trigger between midnight and 5 a.m. So starting at midnight, it's going to go through all the Snap packages that I have on my system, and then it's going to make sure that they're updated. Because I only have one package anyway, this will happen very, very fast. But if you had a bunch of Snap packages, then it'll make sure that those are all updated by 5 a.m. in this case. But again, you could set your time window to whatever you want. Now, of course, just like with all things, there's going to be more examples that I could have gone over, but I think what I did go over is going to get you up and running with Snap packages, or at least help you understand how they work. So you know what? Snap packages don't seem all that bad. In fact, I think the technology is pretty good. However, there's a lot of controversy within the Linux community around snap packages, so why exactly is this so controversial? Well, what I'm going to do is give you a few reasons right now. One of the biggest criticisms of Snap is how much control Canonical has over the technology. In fact, some are even of the opinion that Canonical pushes a bit too hard when it comes to increasing its popularity. Another popular pain point is the belief that Snap packages are being forced on Ubuntu's users without their permission. For example, a user might be using the Chromium web browser packaged as a standard deb package, and then later on, they find after installing updates they're suddenly using the Snap version without warning. Now, this probably wouldn't be as much of an issue as it is nowadays if the transition was seamless. But many users only noticed that something changed because suddenly applications that they run would have quirks or even bugs that weren't present before. The thing is, everyone has their own opinion, and that's fine. Everyone's entitled to their own opinion. Some people might like the Snap package format, and others, well, they're very vocal on the fact that they don't like it. Now, leaving personal opinion out of the equation, my personal recommendation is to try all of the package formats, all the universal package formats. You might like one more than the other, and I think you are the ultimate decider as far as whether or not this technology is a good fit. Either way, if you haven't already tried it, you may as well. It's here. And then you could form your own opinion about it, and let me know what your opinion is down in the comments below. But in this video, I summarized what Snap packages are, why they're so controversial in the first place, and I hope this video was of value to you. If it was, then please click that like button. I would really appreciate it. In the meantime, thank you so much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you in the next video.